Labaka, everyone. We're back with another review video, and in this one we're going to be talking about the 10 finalists of Latvia's Supernova 2023. My name is Ervin, and in today's video I'm joined by Anne, Marco, and Joe. The first song we're going to be discussing today is titled Love Vibes and is performed by Arturs Hatti.
This song came out 4 or 5 months ago now, so it's kind of well known and it's kind of been out there. And the fact that it popped up in Supernova was a little bit of a surprise to me. It's co-written by Avenija, who's the lead singer of Triana Park, who everybody knows from 2017. So, you go into it with all this, it's got some great sort of pedigree behind it. And in studio, it's a cute song, hella repetitive, but cute. But last night in the semi-final, Arturs gave probably one of the worst vocals, certainly for the first half of the song, that I've ever heard. So the fact that it got through, a little bit of a shocker for me. So I'm a bit confused by it, but it's a boppy little bop. He just needs to work on that vocal, and staging was rubbish as well. Joe, what about you?
So I think I remember when this first came out, and I think I messaged you because it just sounded like something that we would hear in Supernova. It was a little bit early, but I think it was shared on Facebook by Kalderauskis, or one of our friends from Latvia, and it just kind of sort of had that kind of sort of Supernova feel to it, and the fact that it's been around for so long left me kind of sort of quite surprised that they didn't come with much more of a concept in terms of the staging. So it's really just him in his outfit, and there's not really much of a backing. So I thought that was perhaps a little bit lacking, particularly for something that is kind of sort of up tempo. They're trying to get something really catchy. It's probably, if we're being fair, this is the earworm of the entire show. So I think it's a great choice to open the show. But overall, I think if anything, it lacks quality. And I think that's the thing that really disappointed me. The performance wasn't anywhere near slick enough for something that's this poppy, and it just really fell a little bit flat. And like you say, the vocals weren't great in the semi-final. Those things can change in the final. They've got time to work on it. But I just wonder if overall as a package, if this is good enough. I want to like it a lot more than I do.
Let's score this one out of 10 then. Anne?
It's a 4.
Marco?
It's a 3 for me.
Joe?
I'll probably go 4.
I'm gonna go with 2. After Love Vibes, it's time for some Fake Love, performed by Raum.
I remember him from last year's selection, and I gotta say he really improved a lot since last year. The song, it was one of my favorite in the studio versions, but live he was much better. I think it was my favorite performance from tonight semi-final, but I'm not sure it will do much in Eurovision. I like the song. It could be very radio friendly. It's something like Germany would like, because they usually stuck with radio friendly songs. And the vocals were really good, in my opinion. But the song is just okay. I don't think it goes anywhere.
See, I tend to disagree with that. I mean, the Fake Love does sound like they wrote this song as like a pop song originally, and then they decided to like rock it up a little bit. And to be honest, like I didn't really mind that. And as you said, Marco, like this was really, really well performed. And I think Raum brought a lot of energy on stage. I don't actually remember him from last year, so I thought that this was his first try. I'm sorry. And yeah, in the performance, I do think that also like the backdrop really worked in their favor. It was sung well, and like, yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed it. Is it gonna win? Probably not, but I do think that like, at least for me, this was one of the best ones regardless.
This is actually his third attempt, because he was in the band Double Faced Eels who did very well the year before. And I really liked Double Face Deals, and I thought that was something that had a bit of kind of sort of creativity and kind of sort of a bit of a kind of sort of sense of artistry around it, whereas this just feels a bit of a kind of sort of manufactured pop song, but maybe a little bit less so than last year. So this one isn't for me.
I should do my homework a lot better then, and I apologize to all fans of Supernova and to all fans of Raum out there. All right, let's turn this into points. Anne?
I love the bit where it drops to a whisper and then comes back in, so it's a 7 for me.
Marco?
It's 7 for me as well.
Joe?
I'm on a 4.
I'm on an 8. We're going to continue with the only act I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm just going to say the 24th Avenue performing the song You Said.
Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise for me, this one. It appealed to me in the studio form, but I wasn't sure what to expect because they're two sort of young guys. I can't remember their names. One of them's called Ernest. I can't remember the other one. But it's so synth-driven and this really heavy beat. And the performance they put on, unlike what we were saying about Arturs, it was just great. The dancers really brought something to it. The way that the group stood at the back of the stage and they let the dancers do the front of the stage. The song's about how rumours on the internet during the evening become fake facts the next day, and that really came across. They had some great sort of backdrop LED words coming up. Yeah, I was really surprised by this. It really came to life on stage massively.
I agree with you, Anne, but for me this was my last option for the semi-final. I couldn't listen to the song in studio version, but live I was blown away because I had no expectations. but I'm still not a fan of the song, don't get me wrong. I don't think it will work in Eurovision, but their live performance was really good and the visuals were good and you remember it. Everything was on point on the stage.
I think we do have to give a shout out as well to the LTV production team, because every year Supernova, okay, sometimes the quality of the songs can be a little bit questionable, but you can't fault the quality of the actual production and the actual show and the way it comes across. It always is so slick and so well managed. It blows me away that such a small broadcaster could do such an excellent job with the show that they've got.
So yeah, whilst I do agree that like LTV team does a great job, just like going back to this performance and the song itself, I wasn't as impressed as you guys were, because like I had the sensation that I'm watching like a really long TV commercial that I just like can't wait to end.
Wow.
Sorry. Let's score You Said out of 10. Anne?
It's a 6.
Marco?
It's a 6.
Joe?
I really like this. An 8.
I really dislike this. 3. The next song we're going to be discussing is When It All Falls, performed by Tom's Kalderauskis. Now, I believe that like when Tom's and his team just met one day and said, let's write a Eurovision ballad with a twist, let's put some beats in the second part of it, and let's just submit it for Supernova. And this is how we ended up with When It All Falls. Because basically it's just a very bland, basic ballad that goes absolutely nowhere. And combining with the performance that it, at least for me, did not stand out in literally any way. And the whole thing just didn't work. Song-wise, it's not the most difficult song to sing, but Tom sings it well, I give him that. But the entire thing, the entire performance, everything just like felt so uninspired. This is something that like I don't think I'll be listening to after Saturday's final, for sure.
Okay. So My opinion is a little bit different on this. So I've been a big fan of Tom's for a long time now. So I was really pleased to see his name back in. I know that he has submitted a song pretty much to every edition of Supernova. The thing with Tom's is he is an absolute superstar, I think, with vocals. He's got a brilliant voice. He sings with real power. But I think the one thing that I will give you, Ervin, on this is that the song is perhaps, he's much better than the song. And
Yeah.
I do think that Tom's could well represent Latvia in the future. I think he just needs to find that right song because I just think he's got that quality about him. I mean, this is perfectly nice, but yeah, it doesn't have that kind of X factor, je ne sais quoi, or whatever, to kind of sort of really kind of sort of draw you in as a listener or a viewer. But great voice, really nice guy, and yeah, may not be his year this year, but I do hope he comes back with a better song in the future.
When it all falls out of 10, Anne?
Part of his team is Roberts, the tall guy from City Denley. So I was expecting more. 4 points of my 5 are for Tom's voice, but 5 points in total.
Marco?
I give him a 4.
Joe?
I'm going to say a 7.
This is another 3 for me. I'm sorry. The fifth song we're going to be talking about is You to Hold Me, performed by Luize.
Yeah, I don't quite know what to make of this because on kind of sort of the fan polls and my Eurovision scoreboard, this is like coming out top. And I really don't understand it because she's not necessarily a huge kind of sort of name. Often you kind of sort of see some of the returning artists kind of sort of featuring a bit kind of sort of disproportionately high. But I just don't see what people are seeing in this. It's a perfectly nice song that's perfectly well performed, but it's just kind of sort of there. It doesn't have a huge hook to kind of sort of draw you in. And when I watched the semi-final performance, I was left a little bit bewildered about kind of what they're trying to do. So she's there at the piano, the keyboard, and she's got kind of sort of the mirrors, but you just see the back of her head for the first 2 minutes, and it's kind of sort of motionless with her long hair. And you just don't see her face until kind of sort of the final minute when she kind of sort of gets up. And it's just odd for a song like that as well, that there's nothing to kind of sort of draw you into the message. I don't get it.
I think I get why she had the fan votes on the poll, because the selection is weak. and this song, it had potential for another revamp, to be a beautiful ballad, to have a moment on the stage, but the live performance was flat. And her voice wasn't quite there. It was one of my favorite, but after the live performance, it's not anymore.
Studio's gorgeous though. I was really surprised with what they did on it on stage, and I think the mirrors on the piano were meant to reflect her face so that you could see her face for the first couple of minutes.
You can't.
It's still an odd choice, massively odd choice, but she's brand new. She's not been up through the X Factor ranks or anything like that. She's a squeaky clean brand new, so this is going to be a fantastic learning experience for her, I think.
And let's score her out of 10.
I still like the song. In studio, 6.
Marco?
It's a 6 for me as well.
Joe?
I'm sorry, Luize, it's a 2 from me.
I feel like I'm on a roll here. This is a 3 as well for me. We're halfway through, so let's continue with Avei and the song Let Me Go.
Unlike Luize before, Avei is an X Factors or X Factoris as they call it in Latvia. She is alumni of them, so she's got the stage presence, I guess. weird though. I kind of understood where she was going. She was in this sort of brown cape, and she had a dancer with her hugging her, but it's all about having internal struggles, and she was there. That's why she was struggling with her backing dancer. I find the song though intensely uninspiring, and okay, she sung it okay, but her voice isn't the best, I don't think. But I see where she's going with it, and I see why she qualified.
See, for me, this girl and her outfit like instantly reminded me of Aija from 2010. And the thing that she's also singing about God in some of the lines is just like, okay, even more connection to Aija. I don't think that there's much wrong with this, but there's not much right with this either. The recital part in the middle of the song was kind of like, like, what are you doing? I don't know, like, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. And I think that like the only way I'm gonna remember this one is that like that girl who looked like Aija who sang about God, and that's it. Avei out of 10, and
It's a 4 from me.
Marco?
For me, it's super annoying, the song, so I'm giving it a 3.
Joe?
A 4.
It doesn't actually happen often that I agree with Anne and Joe, but it's a 4 for me as well.
And confirm that is the truth.
Next up, we have Markus Riva with the song Forever.
Okay, so we know Markus already. I think we will see him next year too. The song isn't the right one. I kind of like the production there, but it doesn't go anywhere for me. For me, it sounds like a Dua Lipa on Wish. It has nothing to do for me, and the staging. I appreciate his intention for the choreography, but it looked so unprepared. It looked like he just learned the moves, and no, it looked bad.
I'm going to come and get you, Marco. Damn. This is probably his best entry since 2019, I would say. Markus is he's one for standing on stage on his own with a microphone and singing. So the fact that he did choreography, the fact that he wrote the whole song himself, I mean, okay, he seems to have forgotten how to speak English in that intervening period because his pronunciation was horrible, probably the worst it's been, but he can work on that and he knows how to do it. So I was really pleasantly surprised. He wrote the song himself, so he's obviously got a real connection to it. And he was really, I think, making an effort, and I can see where he's trying to go with it. He just needs that extra week to go a little bit further. LTV showed us the interim televotes, and he was second. He was a clear second. They never showed us the final televotes because they're keeping some stuff for the final. But yeah, the fact that he's come back with what I think is a stronger song, he just needs to polish it a little bit more. And I was so pleased he wasn't just standing there with a microphone. Oh, thank God.
So let's score Forever out of 10. Anne?
I'm giving it an 8.
Marco?
I'm giving him a 4.
Joe?
I'm so pleased to see Markus back in the competition, and I really enjoy this. So for me, it's a 7.
I know that Markus is going to come back, and I genuinely want him to go to Eurovision someday, but I don't think that this is the song for him. I give this one a 5. Three more to go. Let's continue with one of the biggest favorites, which is Satellites with Aija. Now, I actually have a lovely friend from Latvia called Aija, and Anne and Joe, you know her obviously as well. And when I was listening to this song, I was actually thinking of like the last time I met her, and that was about like 5 or 6 years ago, and this just made me miss her even more. So Aija, if you're watching, I hope to see you soon. That aside, I love how this song sounds so like experimental, and at first it had me like completely confused and like wondering like what is going on here, but I quickly started warming up to it. I think that the instrumentation here is done really well. It was sung amazingly well, and they had like an entire stage concept that really worked in their favor, including all of the camera work, including all of the backdrop. The shots were always at the right musician, singer, drummer, etc. And like personally, this is maybe not my #1 favorite, but out of these 10 songs, I think that this is Latvia's best shot that they have at Eurovision this year.
Yeah, so Southern Lights are not new to the competition and certainly not new to me. I remember when they entered in 2018, came second with Just Fine. And I've kind of sort of followed their career over the last few years and the way they've kind of sort of developed their sound and kind of sort of matured over their last kind of sort of 2 or 3 albums, which are all fantastic, by the way. So do check them out. And I think this feels to me as though this has been kind of sort of a long time in the making, that this song was ready to be submitted to Supernova as soon as kind of sort of, things, came up. We did hear in a lot of the snippets about, I wrote my song in like 5 minutes, which sometimes is an okay thing. But this one really feels as though it's really been carefully kind of sort of put together and thought through. And the guys are an absolute delight. So we met them in 2018. They know what they're doing. They're very professional. The performance is very slick. I like the staging. And for me, I think the moment this really clicked with me was when I saw the music video, because it's so beautifully put together. It came out last week, so again, check it out. These guys are ready, and this is the choice for Latvia. I'm confident they will win. They've got a lot of public support. We did see in the semi-final when the kind of sort of interim votes came up, they were way out in front, and it's where they deserve to be. This is excellent.
Sunlights and Aija out of 10, and?
Yeah, I didn't get it in studio. Last night I got it. It's a 9.
Marco?
For me, it's a 7.
Joe?
Welcome back to the grand final, Latvia. That's a 10.
Oh, wow. First 10 of the night. I'll give this one an 8. We're going to continue with another big favorite, which is Patrisha and her song Hush.
Joe and I were in the Supernova audience in 2018, and Patrisha was an interval act, and we were like, oh, hello, she's a bit good. And we've kept an eye on her ever since. And I know Joe, not stalking her on social media, but he's asked her a few times Supernova when. And so she finally listened to him, and she's like one of the biggest pop stars over in Latvia. She signed to, I want to say Universal, or is it Warner? I think it's Universal. And so and last night the performance was so good. Her voice is just effortless. She hit everything. She looked amazing. And I think behind Southern Lights, she was like the most polished. Yeah, only good things to say about Patrisha. Lovely to have her here.
Okay, so I'm obviously going to say good things about Patrisha, because I've been a huge fan since we saw her in the interval with ESCBubble in 2018. I loved that song, and probably since then, every year I have been contacting her on social media whenever she released anything, Supernova when, and hoping that she would enter. So when her song dropped in the week that we were expecting the announcements, we put 2 and 2 together, and we were right. So really happy to see Hush in the competition. She is a superstar, and she performs it really well. But I do have one issue with the song. So Patrisha's back catalogue to date has all been in Latvian. So she is at home when she's singing contemporary pop music in Latvian. She's got a huge domestic audience as a result of it. I know what she's trying to do, because she wants to now kind of sort of appeal to a wider audience, and Eurovision is such a good platform to do that. And I really want to see one year Latvia send a good contemporary pop song in Latvian, because we very rarely hear Latvian, and normally when we hear other languages in Eurovision, it's in something more traditional. But Latvia have got such a fantastic, vibrant pop scene with acts like Patrisha, but also acts like Astronaut. And I really want to see something like that at Eurovision. I think it would go down so well and stand out. So if she'd have performed this in Latvian, this would absolutely smash it out of the park for me. Instead, I'm perhaps just a little bit left wanting. It's been my dream to have her in the competition, and I love her, but yeah, there's just something missing.
Let's score Hush out of 10. Anne?
I'm going to go 8.
Marco?
She's one of my favorite, so I'm going with an 8.
Joe?
So I kind of want to go for like a 9 3/4, but I have to go for 9. If it had been in Latvian, this would absolutely be a 10 for me, and I'd be over the moon.
I need more boost and I need more power. So for me, this is a 7. And last but not least, we have Alise Haijima with Tricky.
I gotta say, this was one of my favorites from the semifinal. The performance was so good, was alright. It didn't stood out that much for me, but her voice was really good. And my only issue is the song. It feels so aggressive. It's too in your face, and but she has the attitude, and it kind of works for her. But I don't know how many people will feel about the song, because it's too in your face.
As soon as I started listening to this song, I felt like I've already heard it, or like I'm already familiar with the melody of it, but I couldn't connect like with which song, and I still can't. But like as the song went on, like I felt that like they tried so many things, and like every single thing that came to mind, they tried it and they added it. Because like from like a wannabe rap, there's a bit of pop, there's a bit of oriental, there's a bit of ethno, there's a bit of everything, because I guess why not? And it made it all a bit too messy for me. Regardless of that, this like tricky really stayed in my head after listening to it. I do think that like she gave a really good performance and that she sang it amazingly. At the same time, like I'm a bit torn, because like I do feel it's kind of good, but I'm not sure it's good for the right reasons. So I don't know.
So I'm convinced that this song was written for Samantatina. Absolutely convinced of it, because it does have that attitude and it is quite aggressive. And I just don't think she has that in the way that someone like Samantha does. The song's perhaps not quite there, and if it was written for Samantatina, I can kind of understand perhaps why she didn't take it. I just get that kind of sort of sense with it, that maybe that's what it's trying, or maybe it's inspired by Samantha and her fantastic legacy.
I mean, she's half Japanese, so I was pleased to see that there was some Oriental vibes to it, because in the pre-blurbs she'd said she wants to show her Latvian-ness to the crowd. So I thought it would have been a shame. But yeah, she threw everything in that performance. Crikey, it had costume changes, had fans, had this, had that. It was quite exhausting to watch, to be honest with you. But it did take away from the heinous song that I really don't like.
On that note, out of 10, Anne?
I'll give it a 5.
Marco?
It's a 6.
Joe?
5.
Once again, I'm agreeing with Anne and Joe. It's a 5 for me as well. As you can all see, the favorite of the four of us are Sudden Lights, with Aija, who scored 34 points, followed by Patrisha in second place with 32, and Raum in third place with 26. Now, this was all based on our personal thoughts and our personal music tastes and opinions, but let's try and predict who is going to win, not necessarily who we want to win. Anne?
Nope, we got it completely right. Sudden Lights all the way.
I agree with you, and Sudden Lights for sure.
It's a sudden landslide for Sudden Lights.
See, I think it's going to be Arturs Hatti. Actually, no, I'm just joking. It's definitely. I'm convinced that it's going to be Sunlights. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to let us know in the comments down below whether you agree or disagree with any of our thoughts and opinions, and also let us know who your personal favorites are. And subscribe to our channel if you want to watch more review videos like this one, and also to stay up to date with all of our upcoming interviews with national final entrants as well as with Eurovision entrants. I hope that we're going to have an amazing Supernova ahead of us, and I just want to thank Anne, Marco, and Joe for joining me today, and we're going to see you all very soon with our next reaction video. Bye, everyone.